Welcome, everybody. Very good to be here with you. And I'm so delighted to introduce our next guest. Special guest is Grandmother SaSa. And very warm welcome to Grandmother SaSa today. And just wanting to share a little bit about Grandmother SaSa's background. Grandmother SaSa is one of the North, a high priestess, seer, dreamer, and universal healer. She founded the Rose and the Swan, a healing center dedicated to healing the healers, where she conducts group and private wisdom sharing and ceremony, including the Medicine Hoop of Life sacred ceremony twice a year. And you can connect with Grandmother SaSa at theroseandtheswan.com. Welcome, Grandmother SaSa. So good to have you here. And I just was wondering if you'd like to start us with a short prayer to begin.
I would love to. Grandfather Chief above the heavenly stars, hear our humble prayer, O Great One. You are the giver of life and everything that comes with it. I'm but a small blade of grass in the vastness of Mother Earth. I ask for your guidance and clearness of vision so I can see the beauty that you have created for us. Bless my hands, O Great One, so I, as your instrument, can do your work on the face of Mother Earth. Grandfather, let all the seeds unite in this circle of prayer, and let us all speak as one again. Aho.
Oh, thank you. So it's so good to have you here, and we look forward to hearing from you in this short time that we have together. Can you share just a little bit more about your background with us, and maybe a little bit more about that, and then we'll learn a bit more about some of the offerings that you have for us today.
My father was Abenaki, Scottish, and Irish, and my mother Japanese. So I've had both Western and Eastern philosophies and teachings. And my mother was a very traditional Japanese woman. So we learned when we were children our walk, the traditions. And we came from the last of the samurai. We were healers. Doctors, dentists, many things. And we know the real ancient ways that we've walked with. And with my father's family in the Abenaki, they were Abenaki, Scottish, and Irish. And they always took us into the woods and taught us about what's out there in life. And brought us to the old places that the Abenakis once lived in Canton and Canton Mountain. And it wasn't until years later that I started walking in the way I am. I met a Native woman and she inspired me in beading. And from there, it just took off to teachings. And then one day, grandmother, I was 2.5 when grandmother Nakai came to me in spirit. And she told me it would be hard for the next years, but that someday we would meet. And so at the end of my 30s, I was invited to go to Brackettville, Texas, where the Medicine Hoop of Life was. And going down there, I had no idea what I was getting into or what it was about, but I figured I'd learn. And the moment the grandfather pointed me to the back door, I opened it, I looked at her, and I said, that's the woman that was in spirit to me. And she turned around and she says, I've been waiting for you. It took you long enough to get here. And from that day on, it just grew. And I had 20 years with her. And the medicine hoop, medicine was passed to me. She was the first one given because it's a universal healing that was to come back to work with the people at this time to bring hope. And the healings that go on and the teachings that go on here it are of that universal part of the stars. I came from the blue star of hope, and I came back to work with the people. I work with travels around this earth. And what I have been doing the last 3 years is bringing the triangles back into place on this earth. And so I started in Australia, which is the first eastern door of this world. And I was greeted by the dreamers because I am a dreamer. And the grandmothers had been waiting, and that's the first thing. We've been waiting for you. And in that, they took me to the sacred places that I needed to touch upon. And the importance of one of them was to bring my hands back to the wall of hands to touch who I have been before in another life. And in that, the doorway opened for the records, and they were passed to me to begin again and to bring back at this time of the earth changes. The prophecies we all know are what they are. We're seeing out here now that we have created it because we haven't taken care of Mother Earth right, and she's not happy with us. So what we're seeing out here of the cleansing, we call it, is the things that are happening because we haven't been right with her. And there's more to come. They showed me 5 different stages of it, and we're only in the 2nd stage. And in the predictions also, by going, they told me 2 years ago when the 7th white feather laid in front of me that it would begin. So we are in a 30-year drought, and we are going to see what it's like that maybe we didn't take care of the water. And it is going to be devastating, not just for one, all of us. And we're going to have an understanding. We're going to have teachings. And we're going to go back to ceremony, because ceremony is the most important thing we have forgotten. Ceremony is like clockwork. Every morning when we open our eyes to greet the mother, I'm at the eastern door here holding the energy for the eastern door. I was sent here 16 years ago to begin this medicine hoop because the land is where the Abenaki used to do their medicine in the summer. And so I've come back to the land of my people to imprint what was here again and bring it forward to help the healing of mankind. The medicine hoop are for the rings of life. It's the creator, the universe, life, and great mystery. Those things we have to be brought back again to our ceremonies so that we will connect again and understand the above powers and the below. At one time, they showed me in the medicine hoop this time, we didn't travel above the earth, we traveled below the earth. The openings are going to start opening again because that's where the records are kept. We are to go into those places with ceremony, and if we know our way, we will find it. If we're meant to be there, we will find it. And I think in all of our cultures and native ways, we understand what that means. We don't have to ask. If we've kept with our people and our traditions, then we understand. The first altar of our life is our heart. We've got to go back to our heart. The second is, as a grandmother, as a mother, is our table. We bring our family to our altar. That's our second altar, and we nourish them. We keep them within the circle. That has been disrupted, and a lot of people are doing it. So when the COVID came down, we had to stay home and clear our altar and start using it again. And this is some of what I see that the ancients have showed me and need to be brought out here for humanity to understand that we're going back to begin again. You know, the fifth world and the opening that we see of the change and the choice is why, what, and how. That is up to us, how we're going to do it, why we're going to do it, and what we will do to it once we come back to the ceremony. But we all need to go back there and begin. In the Abenaki way, we go to the first light in the morning because we're at the eastern door. We begin our prayers to the eagle, to the grandfathers and grandmothers. We can ask for the healing. We can ask for what we need. And then in the evening, we face the west. We give thanks for whatever we have been given and what we have learned for that day to begin again. But now, because we're going into that, it's where the dreamers start going. We go up and we do our work above as well as down below here to probably help more than people realize, because we can work with the spirit up there and direct and help people in a different way. They will be more receptive when we go there to get healing, to get direction. And I feel the work in the last 28 years that I have done with it, I've seen many things come and go, and possibilities that I never knew I had within myself. And so by bringing these back to each one of our tribes and our clans, the dreamers were a very important part, and they was disrupted. When I went to Australia to meet them, the mound they call Ayers Rock is the true umbilical cord to this earth. When it get disrupted, we couldn't dream like we dreamed before to bring it down. So they started the ceremony of the healing of it, the dance and the song again. The following year, they had healed it back on, and the dance and song started again. So we have that free flow to go again. And in that, I can't possibly begin to tell you the freedom people have by dreaming. But we got to learn to remember again. And this is the teachings. My teacher said, I'm not here to teach you, you're going to remember. And in it is the remembering that we all have in our heart that opens ourselves. A lot of it out here, we've been told we couldn't, we shouldn't by society. But now we've gone back. Some of us secretly went back to places to open the bundles up again, to keep them really put away, because we know what can happen again if we are not quiet about it. Mm-hmm. One of the things with this, when I was 5, my grandfather brought me to the caves of the Abenaki. He had me go in because he was too crippled and couldn't go in. And he said, gave me instruction to go in to hold the bundle. And what I learned later in life is when he did this for me, I received the bundle. I don't have to carry it physically. I carry it right here. What I learned through the years in carrying the pipes that I have, when I gave them back to the river and to the spirit went within me. I couldn't carry them anymore. When I went into airports, they disrupted. When I traveled, it was disrupted. So my teacher, the grandmother, said, we're going to take care of this, and you can walk freely from now on. And by doing that, I walk freely. I can turn those pipes. I can bring the spirit back and help humanity in the way it needs to again with the ceremony. Because all we have to do is remember the prayer. And the prayer comes down, and we're touching all the people like we did before. Before we had these physical things, we did it all spiritually, but we had forgotten. And the parts are, we hold the remembrance within our heart and soul. How many lifetimes? 3 years ago, I was given a bundle that I had held 800 years before. It came back to me. And I carry that. because it brought back a lot of the remembrance of where it came, the people that brought it, the grandmother that gifted me back that bundle so I could begin again with it and bring what we need to the people in ceremony. So things have been done very quietly in these last years because they needed to be. The medicine hoop of life is about the white buffalo. Part of the walk that I have had is when I laid down on this earth again, the white buffalo came and blew breath back into me once again to begin. And so that part you carry, you remember, and you're responsible in sharing that with everybody and teaching the honoring of what we used to have. And I see this in inspiring a lot of the young people to come forward. It's time, it's your time again. And it isn't by chance that we're meeting today, because I have seen what is to come. And I know that we are all helping each other build that bridge that once was there. And it is being repaired. It is, when I went back to my people up on the St. Francis River, it was to restore and bring records back together. In that, a double rainbow came over. The hawks came out to bring the message back. Where they had dammed off so that we couldn't go into our caves anymore. Well, there's more than one way to get in there, and that's through spirit. So it's never stopped us. And the part is along the way, the elders have told me beautifully that I walk with that double rainbow. I'm here to help bridge back with the people again what they have forgotten. And I truly know that because the years of the people that touching upon and working in healing, and now we're starting the center here for the School for Healing Healers. Mm-hmm. And when the grandmother shared with me, you will be going there and starting a center to heal healers. And I said, really? She says, I didn't choose you, Creator chose you, and to always remember that. So when Creator has chosen us for something, he chose us. He could have chose anybody else, but he chose us. And we have the responsibility to bring that forward and work with it the best way we know. And along the way, when we've needed the help, there is always someone, a grandfather and grandmother, that has come along to help me and still do. And that's what I love about meeting new people. It isn't meeting new people because we're remembering them. There's something there we have to speak and share the love. And I think the red road of that is bringing it back and walking that center again. Is it hard? Yes, it is, because our nation isn't even recognized by the government. But like my grandfather told me, they may not recognize you, but you recognize yourself. Always know your blood. Always know your people. And that I haven't forgot from my grandfather and grandmother. And I think that our accomplishments is to seek that higher truth, to speak that truth now. And not everybody's going to agree. And I realize that every day of my life. But it's what I believe and what Creator is showing me and our mother. And if they're telling me to go within my soul and to seek that higher truth, to open others up in their consciousness, then why wouldn't you do it? You know, and I think, you know, the true ones that come, you know, the false ones, because you're going to always be tested with that falseness. But we can see, we understand, and we can sense. And I think that those parts of our soul and what we're bringing back to this earth and consciousness. When we're walking through to that fifth world now, I see the falseness of some of the ceremonies and what they're charging for them. And I look at that. That isn't right. I hold the energy of the Eastern Door. All you have to do is walk through the Eastern Door and you got it. That's what you choose. That is how powerful and easy it is if you are in your heart to do that. But some people are taking it to other areas of things, and we have to watch that because it confuses a lot of people. And that isn't our confusion. I tell people the same thing in the past weeks here. Well, how do you expect to make these things happen? Through Creator. I believe in my prayer. I believe in my faith. And it's always got me where I needed to go. And if it isn't time, then it doesn't happen. And that's why with myself, I don't get upset if things wasn't the day. We'll pick another day. If it isn't the day, it will follow through the way it's supposed to. That is the time. So when I look at these things, as human beings on this earth, we have to change our harmony, our balance, to work with the flow of life. And this energy and stuff is very erratic at this time. Everything that's opening up, people are out here like nothing ever happened. And they don't have a conscience of it. And do they care? We got to start looking because we're in the second doorway of it. By the end of the summer, it's going to be back worse than it was before. And then we're going to really have to struggle and work again to bring it forward and to make it happen. But, if we believe in that higher power and our life of love and freedom of our heart and soul, it won't ever get us. It's when we bend to this world and somebody telling you, oh, you can't. And the strong words was, you can. All you have to know is that prayer, understanding, love, and know that the light will shine upon you. And, it's in ceremony when you look up and the eagles and the hawks are all flowing. They're hearing the prayer, they're bringing it up for you, and you understand how much needed it is out here to society. And that no matter if they believe or not, I pray it touches their heart and soul and starts some healing of remembering so that they can change their thought pattern and change that destructiveness that we see. We can't avoid it anymore. It's here in front of us. And if we can't treat each other in a human way, then what is going to happen? We're going to see.
And Grandmother SaSa, can you tell us a little bit more about the waters and maybe what we can do to be praying or the intentions around the healing of the waters right now? It sounds like that's a big part of what's needed right now and what you're saying.
Medicine Hoop is twice a year. I work with water. Grandmother was given the Eastern Door of the Hopi crystal. We are that. We are liquid crystal. Well, this is where humans need to wake up. We are liquid crystal. How are we going to keep alive? Water. What are we not taking care of? Water. There are plenty of people out here that are selling that water, but a lot of it goes back to our ancestry. My ancestry was, my great aunt married the man that started Poland Springs. And that is why the Abenaki people went to get their waters and stuff. And there is a whole history of what has happened, how it's happened, and what will happen. Because ceremony hasn't been brought back again there because of the disruption and ownership. And my aunt became sad because she learned the teaching that it isn't what you do, but that's history. But out here, I'm on the aquifer, one of the biggest aquifers in New Hampshire. Uh, there is a spring above here that the Abenaki use, and 16 years ago, that was my first hunt to go to the springs and start ceremony there again. And I go up there, I pray to the water, I pray to the springs, and keep it going, keep our nourishment. If each one of us goes and does our prayers of thanks and what we need of this, of the healing. And this last year, what happened was contamination there, and they shut it down. But once I heard, I went up and I started the prayers very heavily there. And there was a young man from the water district from the town, and he started crying. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "Bringing ceremony back here so we can keep this water and clean it up." And he was so touched. "How did you know?" I said, "Because it's our way." I said, "And now you understand what we've been trying to do here and try to keep going in our life." So all the people out here that go to those sacred springs have to understand we have to leave our offering, we have to leave our prayers, and to always pick up some of that water and give it back to the earth, because she is helping us. Bring to the heart. Someone says, "Oh, do I have to know?" No, prayer is the part. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And going in and understanding the spirit of that water. What do you need? How do you need it? And they're saying things are slowing down under this earth. The arteries and veins, some of them are drying up. Our rivers here in the Northeast are the lowest I've ever seen for this time of year. We are in a drought, just like many. And when I was going through some of my journals and stuff to go back on some things, she had written 18 years ago that we were going to be in this 30-year drought. We're just seeing it now. And we're going to really see it in our crops, the lack of food, lack of water. So it's a precious commodity that we've been gifted. Why aren't we taking care of it? Why aren't we saying a prayer to it? Is it that hurtful to give thanks? And this is some of the awakening that many of the people out here, I see children, once I deliver something, they are so into praying now and watching that, they're the next generations. And you got to teach them. Somebody's got to help them if they're going to make it.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. And as you mentioned, the prophecies, these changes have been predicted for hundreds of years, or maybe even longer than that. Mm-hmm. How do you see us moving ahead, and as far as like people's fears and kind of maybe overcoming some of those things that people are challenged with at this time to really move ahead as a choice?
We have to learn respect for one. Respect has been thrown out. Mm-hmm. I know how I was taught. I know when I go to my elders, I know what to bring. I know if I go to ceremony in someone else's place, I bring those things, the tobacco, the tithing, a blanket, groceries, and I always sit with them. I always get answers from them because they said, "You haven't forgotten." No, I haven't forgotten. And I think that remembering the respect of these elders that are leaving us and taking all their history with them and not passing the medicine, mm-hmm. because nobody is out here worthy of giving it to. And this is some of what in the last 28 years that I watched. And she said that I was there to experience her life because I needed to understand so I wouldn't see the same mistakes happen to myself. It was the greatest teaching from her. I will never forget, because the disrespect and dishonor of someone giving their life for the healings and ceremonies that they're sacrificing to stay in a clean, clear way, we have lost that respect. And so if we're to look at this, we've got to get back to respecting the sacred space and honor of people. Until mankind comes to that, there'll be a lot of them falling to their knees. I see that. I saw it in a vision. I saw across this earth devastation that I couldn't believe could happen. But they showed me how we created it ourselves. That there are greedy people, people that only think of themselves and no one else. There are a lot of them that have too many things and can't share. And so the disrespect has been there. The sharing hasn't been there. You know, we, in our own way, don't forget that. If someone has helped us, we find a way to give back in some way. What is it they need? Is it, this one doesn't have groceries, we're going to get some groceries to them. This one doesn't have oil, we'll get some oil to them. This one hasn't got warm things, we're going to get some warm things to them. How hard is that to think and feel? I guess growing up in the way we did, when you've been hungry and you've been cold, then you understand what life can be. And if you've gone through that, then you understand out here, that isn't what you want. I feel it for others. I couldn't. I know what I have done, taking my jacket off to make someone else warm, because that's a way to do it. I know I can take care of myself, but they can't. And so, it's like going into areas where the homeless are, talking to them, understanding they just want a warm meal or something. You can't change some of the parts of how they want to live or could live or how they got there. It's listening to it, talking with them, taking time, giving them a hug that they haven't had for years and helping them. And a lot of people they walk by it. They don't want to see it. Because then they would have to be responsible and do something about it. And the responsibility as humans, if we don't make some changes, then what are we going to do? The earth is going to be even harder and harder. And that's how I see it's going to take some real hard things coming to make some people really watch and look. That they didn't see it before. Well, no, because you wasn't looking. But I tell people, at least stop and help one person a day. I don't care if it's calling, if it isn't, give a thought to someone other than yourself. And then the freedom will come that you're going to hear, you're going to sense, you're going to feel. And understanding comes in, because then that understanding comes within our heart and we start opening ourselves up and knowing there's other people out here in the world that are far worse than we ever thought that could use the help.
It seems like as well, it's that returning to the heart, as you said in the beginning, and really coming into this newfound sense of compassion in a much deeper way that really hasn't been recognized over many years. It's just kind of the hustle and bustle and, the modern day priorities that just seem very empty in many ways, but really coming back to that heartfelt place. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's a very important part of the remembering that you're talking about.
The prophecy has said when the grandmothers would come back to the circle again to begin, And we have come back to that circle again to begin because our children weren't listening, they weren't following, and they weren't doing because the entitlement part of it, I don't have to. Well, I'm sorry, but Creator and the Mother are going to show us you're going to have to. You're going to, in some way, come back to that circle of life again. It's like going into a home and the family has invited me in to help them make some changes. Well, I take them to the table first. We're going to clean this baby off and we're going to set it up in a way. And this is the first thing when a child comes into the house. Where do they go? The kitchen. Where do they go? To their table. And if they know they have a place there and that hasn't become a workshop and a junk table, then you're going to bring order back. Your kids are going to work with you because in the circle, you're going to come back to it. You're going to learn to cook again and you're going to serve. And as a mother, take back what is given to you as a mother, as a grandmother there. And so the last part I do with the family is I'm going to choose a word and we're going to put it up on the refrigerator. And for a week, you're going to all learn that word. What is your meaning to that word? What are you going to bring to the table, to the circle? And then the next week, it's the next person, then the next person. And it starts bringing the circle back to that altar. And that's the order you need. Learn the manners, learn how to set a table. If you don't learn at home, where are you going to learn it? If your mother or father doesn't teach you, then where are you going to get it? Your grandmother, your grandfather. But you're going to learn and you're going to bring it back and you'll never forget it. You'll remember. And the remembering part is so deep within. It brings the fond memories. It brings the goodness back to us and what we need to nourish in our heart, in our soul. And this is what I work with in trying to teach, is we got to go back to the basic again. We've got to learn respect and honor to each other. And that if someone is speaking, we're going to listen to that. It may not be what we want to hear, but they have their time. And then it goes to the next one. It may not be what you want to hear for that word, but it's theirs. It came from their heart. And, that's the beauty that I see in the flow of life. And you talk about how important water is. You talk about how we're very fortunate because some people don't. In my life, probably 30 years ago, I went up northern Maine. These people in 4 or 5 houses, they never had running water. My friend dug them, drilled them the first well. And when I went into their homes, they had dirt floors. And I was so taken back, but they were so proud and so giving and loving, but clean. And I thought, I thank Creator, I thank the Mother for the teaching that how fortunate we are that we have running water, we have lights, but we have gone far beyond that. Children don't know how to go out and play. They don't know what the woods are. They're afraid of it. Now, I never was afraid. I ran through the woods. I did what I needed to do out in the woods. We were by the river. We were taught what the river waters. At this time, with the river being so low, stay away from it because you're going to catch something. You could get hit, lose your life over it because it's so low. And you go into that mucky water, you don't know what has been in. We learned it. When I go down through, I watch these families and it's like, you know what the sickness is going to be, you know what's coming, because people have not learned, nor do they want to listen. But if you start bringing the teachings to the table and start informing people just like this. Yes, it's my feelings. Yes, it's my words. The Creator gave me those words. Mother gave me those words. And the spirits that I work with gave me those words. This is what's important at this time, that we have to bring the structure back to live again as a people.
Thank you so much. It's so good to hear your words today. And as we're kind of coming to a close, and not quite yet, but I just want to ask, if we're walking through this doorway that you mentioned at the beginning, where will the journey take us once we go through the doorway? And is there anything that can make that walk a bit easier? And I think I hear so much of the teachings that you're sharing with this generosity and the respect and so many of the sacred principles that we know as Native peoples, the respect certainly, and listening. I think that's a big part of today. We're listening to you, grandmother. So.
Well, my grandmother said, be a hawk and not a crow. And that was at the very beginning. And I never forgot that. And she says, you learn to be the hawk. Look at what you can receive. You can see, you can sense, you can hear, and then you've got it all. But a crow doesn't get that. And to remember that. So when I'm in a circle and I have some crows, I tell them the story, become a hawk and not a crow. And it isn't for laughter. It isn't for that way for those people there, but they're very green at it. And I give them probably this much more than they should be given. But in our way, we go in, we have our teachings, and we know how to, our manners. We're not, that teacher is giving up the time, that elder, then we better be with the program and be ready for it. And if we're not, we should get up and leave and not be part of it. So the next doorway of opening to the new world, everything our soul has been, we can let go of that karma, let go of all those things that we don't need anymore. And we can walk through that door, which is the eastern door going in, and we can let it go and begin again. What do you want? How do you want? I made many prayers this weekend of walking in that door for the people, for the universe, because it's the universe that is talking to us right now. If you want the opportunity to come and go through this way, this doorway, what do you want in your doorway? What do you want to open to? What do you want to change and not be anymore? Or be stronger in something, because it's all in front of you. And I see the universe working in such a beautiful way. We're beginning again. We don't need any of this stuff, but we have to work and sacrifice to make the change. It isn't just going to be, oh, la-di-da, and we're in that part and it's going to be fluffy and soft and that. No, we couldn't expect it to be. But if we've been doing our work of ceremony, think of yourself walking through that, because you're walking the way. Those that aren't, some aren't going to make it, but that's their choice. Whether it's fear or they're not ready, they're not going. They're just not. And it showed me there is going to be clearings, because some people are just not going to want to make the change. And that's okay. It isn't their time. I can't feel sorry for something they're choosing, because it's their choice. And we have to look directly at that. It's not their time. I tell people, I'm not going to get all upset because certain people haven't chosen. And I know a lot of them, because it's their choice. One of the things my brother has said to me, because he has had the bear, an eagle come, eagle touched his head, the bear blew its life into him. I can't do it this time. I'm not you. I'm not strong this time. maybe my next life I'll be ready for it. And I understood him fully. Did it make me sad? Yes. But I understood and I respected it, that he could say that to me and mean it. And I can't sacrifice and live like you do. He said, I don't know too many people that do and determined to make the things happen. But it is. If it isn't for the determination to see something through, which is what has happened out here, things that being seen through, people are stopping before they're finishing things. You know, in our way, we know the sacrifices we have to go to in those initiations to get to the next, to get to the next. And we've made up our mind that we're going to do those things. And no matter what it is, we're going to do it. And it's never a failure if we have tried. We have given our best. And I feel this is some of it. If you give your best to that and you know you can't, then he said, next time in my life, I will finish. I understood fully. And so we're seeing a lot of people walk and doing this. You know, in our Japanese way, you know, it's an old culture. It's a very traditional, you know, when we're 2.5, 3, we sit in the silence. We sit in a little chair. Because at first we think we're being punished. And then we grow to learn that we're connecting. And I feel that some of these traditions, if they were brought to these children, they wouldn't have to be entertained like they are. They would know how to sit quietly. They would know how to craft and do the things. And so some of this is all going to start coming back because the teachers are going to come forward. We are going to meet in our circle of life. And there will be decisions made. There will be those parts of direction that each one of us in the 4 directions have been given. Those rings of life are going to come, and the prayer will come with it to make it happen again.
Wonderful. Oh, wow. Thank you so much for all of these incredible insights and all of your wisdom today. We just have a few moments left. Are there any final words that you just want to add to conclude our time today that we have together?
I'm very thankful to have this opportunity to come be with you today and to touch upon the people. And my love for everybody and my prayer has strongly been put there because I just see that being given the opportunity to speak is a gift and a trust of allowing, and it's time. And I hope physically we can meet down the road here when times come to what it's supposed to. And I'm very thankful. I have a lot of gratitude for everything, for sharing.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so very much, Grandmother SaSa. It's been such a pleasure to sit with you today and to listen. I hope that everybody that's tuning in and watching has gained a lot and just continues to take the wisdom to heart and just really sit with it. So many blessings to all of you tuning in.
My invitation is I'm at the Eastern Door here in West Osprey, New Hampshire, on the Bear Camp River. And, you know, you can go on my website and look at the pictures and what is being done here and the Center for Healing the Healers, because it is the opportunity. Their healers don't have a place to go and be heard and be doctored and be taken care of. And that is a gift that has been given from Creator to me to do and follow through. So I'm very thankful. And I hope I hear from some of you.
Yes, and you can connect with Grandmother SaSa at theroseandtheswan.com. to learn more about her center and all of her teachings. Thank you again, and
Thank
many
you, dear.
blessings.